welcome to a short video from Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. This game has been out for a little over a week as I make this video. It's been very controversial for a few reasons. It seems like it got rushed out to Steam a little bit earlier and out to market a little bit earlier than it was ready for, and that's caused a lot of frustrations. However, it's also caused a few ideas for me in terms of creating this video as a means of highlighting some interesting, controversial, challenging decisions in terms of UI design and usability for games. And so this video is largely meant for my students. Some of my classes, game development, classes that I just wanted to create a live video and show some of these problems kind of firsthand and get people thinking. So here I am in the junkyard for Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. And one of the things I like about this game is I'm living my fantasy of becoming a car mechanic someday. I can come here to the junkyard and I can find some parts here that are terrible, low condition, and I'm looking at I can repair some of these parts and use them when I can get their condition up. Every part here in the game has a condition and maybe some other hidden data or metadata about it indicating how often it's been repaired, can it be repaired. Some items are entirely consumable and you'll never get a chance to repair them and make a little bit of money in the game. So I have here at the junkyard a whole bunch of stuff collected, and I'm all done now. It's a lovely place. I'm ready to head out and pop back to my garage. Look at this, $1,000 for all those parts. That's great. But note that most of the parts that I've picked up here are recommended. Probably a very low chance of being able to refurbish them. Or, if you think about it, if I can, some of these parts I don't want nothing for $3 for them. Oh, okay. Inside of the game where I'm simulating being a car mechanic, that's the name of the game. Car Mechanic Simulator. I'm like, I want my garage to, kind of make a little bit of money. If I can refurbish old parts, make them perfectly good again, and put them in cars for my customers, everyone's going to win at the end of the day. Why not do that? So, there's part of the thing that we talk about in class is the expectation inside of simulations, right? If this was an airplane simulator, you'd expect to be able to fly your airplane, take off, fly, land your airplane, maybe communicate to the tower at the airport. There's all those, in real life, you would do X, Y, or Z, type of expectations. And so here at my awesome garage, now that I'm back, I've got a customer's vehicle up on the hoist here. We're working on a suspension job there. I've got all kinds of tools available to me that help me, pull the engine out of the car and work on it, drain the oil nice and safely out of a vehicle. And I'm thinking, rock on. That's exactly what I think, Phil and all the great people at Kaufman Motors in Kitchener, completely unprovoked product placement there, or promotional, great. If you ever need work done on your car, go see Kaufman Motors in Kitchener. Great folks there, great service. But yeah, that's exactly what I expect my mechanic is doing all the time, right? Running around the shop, double clicking on things, dragging things over to the with simple clicks and gestures, right? Swiping on things. Here's the office. This office is far messier than Phil's. So anyway, here we are, back on topic. So one of the things I'm expecting to be able to do is I went to the junkyard and I bought all those parts for a reason, and that was to repair them so that we could use them on repair jobs for my customers, right? So I go to the repair bench and I get this UI. So where are all the parts that I just bought? Right, they'd be all with like red condition, but here it's starting me off with parts that are close to being fully refurbished and what have you. And I get good information here. I mean, here's the core information about the part I'm looking at, its current condition, right? and my chance of repair. So I'm seeing the kind of the game mechanics, the exposure. And think about your, if you're in the user interface class that we teach, certain parts of that will speak to you now. But just in terms of game development, like, yeah, I'm giving the player, I'm giving the player of the game what she or he needs to do their job as a simulated car mechanic. However, I want to get to the red parts, the condition parts. You think that if I have a part that's like at 99% condition and there is a chance of me failing, I probably don't want to repair that one as much as my red parts. But notice, here I am, I'm using the keyboard now just to scroll. And I'm holding down the scrolling key and it does nothing. I have to tap, 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 tap. Maybe you can hear me tapping in the background here. To go to the left. Now I can come in here and I can use my mouse wheel and I can scroll a lot faster, but my goodness, this is getting tedious. Like, look at this. I'm in the yellow parts now. The condition's around 60%. Scroll, scroll. Finally, I'm getting to red, right? And I'm just going and going and going and going. And so my first question in terms of usability for you in the class, and maybe even hint hint for the developers of the game, is how can we flip this? I would love if it started on this side and I said, oh, the parts that are in most need of repair, they're right here. So let's see if I can repair this guy. Nope. Oh, snap. I just failed in a repair. I blew that part away, and that's okay. It probably didn't cost me anything. I'm fine with that. But my problem now is that it's reset me to the end of that list. And so again, as a software developer, I hope you're sitting there thinking, oh, wait a minute, I think about how I sort lists and arrays all the time, right? And what just happened? Think about the mechanics there of what just happened. Is that shot where I get to repair an item in this game. Let me just go to an item. I can afford to lose here. I don't want to kill my video game just for class. Ugh. All right, so I want to repair this manifold. When I click on it here, I imagine code-wise, I'm calling some method somewhere saying, hey, roll a dice, get a random number, whatever, and figure out, does he have a successful repair or not? Apparently that time I did. That's nice. And boop, it returned me back to the start of my list. So there's something about returning from that repair method or whatever function that does the repair part of the game that's putting me at the tail end of this list. And you're thinking, okay, so whenever you try to repair something, whether you succeed, whether you fail, it's just going to dump you at the start of index 0 at the start of whatever list is being tracked for you. Okay, fine. So let's say I take something and I do a partial repair. Look at that. I did a partial repair and it keeps me right here. I didn't have to scroll, and I'm thinking, oh, that's convenient. I can, try to repair it again. Maybe I could try to repair this guy. That partial repairs have a different exit behavior than complete success and complete fail. So that's interesting. So now my expectations for consistent behavior are a little off here. Maybe I can get used to this, as a player. When I think about usability and I think about, what I really want to do is I'm here for the excitement of, oh, did I just, save a few bucks in-game money by fixing and repairing these parts in my shop? Because this game is not just a car mechanic simulator. It's kind of like a car mechanic role-playing game or RPG. It has skill levels that you buy. The more experience you get from doing complex jobs, you can buy new skills and upgrade your capability. So that repair chance there, it's 85%. Now, at the beginning of the game, it's like 50 or 55% or something very low compared. So I've been investing my time. So this is an important part of the game for me in the way I'm playing it. So when I come along here and I need to go and fix all my red parts, having to scroll forever to get to the ones that I want to work on is just frustrating. So I guess the question would be, how hard would it be ultimately to take our presentation layer here in the UI and add some sorting tools here, just really quick, like sort by condition or sort by area of the car, like suspension, engine, body parts when I'm able to repair body parts of the car, this type of thing. How hard would it be to make that this element down here in the UI more useful than I feel it is right now? Now, there could be people out there that love this to bits, right? Oh, this is the best ever. And this brings up a really important point. Maybe you think this is the best ever. Maybe it's because, unlike me, I'm on a PC, so I'm using a mouse with a mouse wheel and a keyboard. You're on a console. This game's been released for, or will be released for the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, in addition to the PC. Nice. Sorry, I got distracted. Anyways, so it's being released for consoles as well as PCs. So as you see me go through this video, I hope you'll see a number of conventions that are common to console, but then recognize that poor me, I'm working on a PC here. Am I good with all these radial menus that are going to pop up? In the previous version of this game, Car Mechanics Simulator 2015, loved that game to bits. They had lots of good keyboard shortcuts for doing some of the things I now have to navigate through radial menus. And so when you think about things like UI principles like Fitts Law, I'm just going to drive my truck over Fitts Law right now just because we always do that. You think about things like Fitts Law, where you're trying to reduce the amount of movement between elements, etc. You're trying to keep everything all very much at hand, all the very active elements on the screen. Are we doing that when we're trying to port a game and its UI generically? I'm using generically kind of loosely here, but if we're trying to port that game's UI and usability experience to generically out to consoles and PCs at the same time, this causes a lot of frustration in the gaming market, right? People will, people in gaming will complain about everything forever, right? But the fact here is that, this could produce a really jarring experience for PC players, especially your legacy market, your old fan base, who expects things to be a certain way. Now, before we move on, my last issue here is, looking at all of these looking at all of these parts here is wonderful, but I gotta ask you, why do I have a 3D spinning thing here, right? I see the part here in this UI element, right? Here's as a gearbox. I see the gearbox here, and I see it here. Now, it's neat that it's all shiny and pristine. Here's a look at the gearbox as it currently is, all rusty and beat up, okay? And that's cool. Its condition is 16%. I get that. But how much value is that for me to see this rotating here? And I can't do anything with this. I'm mousing on this. I'm buttoning on this. I can't drag this. This is just a forever spinning rendering of this gameplay element. And I don't know. Could you maybe take this away and put some sorting elements in here for me, or reorganize this UI so that it's more useful? Okay, so anyway, so there's a problematic area of usability. If you want to be in the repair side of this game and be repairing and reconditioning parts, this happens at a lot of car repair shops in real life. You kind of can't. It's very frustrating and time consuming. We'll come back to that idea of time consuming and UI mechanics. Sometimes games want you to feel like you're wasting your time a bit. Okay, anyway, we'll come back to that. Anyway, so I'm done here at the repair bench, and I want to come over and look at my game. So here's the radial menu, right? So I have all these options. In the old version of the game, in the 2015 version, instead of having to go to this radial menu to go see the status of my car, I could just click O or press the O button on the keyboard. There's a keyboard shortcut for that. I don't have that here, right? Thank goodness though, there's a tablet where you can order your parts. You can press T and you can go to a little fake web interface here and order replacement, pristine replacement parts for the various cars that you have. So it's interesting, right? I still have a keyboard shortcut for doing one thing, going to the web tablet there to order parts, but not to instantaneously check the status of this car that I'm working on. Man, that's frustrating too. Okay, let's go into the inventory here. So this is all the parts that I have that aren't in a car, right? This represents, all the, good condition, reconditioned parts that I have, and it represents, all the junk I've picked up at the junkyard, the junky parts I've pulled off of customers' cars, and you kind of think that, if you've ever been to a mechanic's shop, they probably have lots of parts, sitting around, some on shelves, some in a bin somewhere, whatever it is, right? But you look at all of these parts here, and I'm scrolling and scrolling. I must have hundreds of parts in here, and thinking, well, wouldn't it be great if I could, sort these? And thank God, thank goodness, there's a little sorting widget here that right now you can't tell, but there's by arrival, by condition, and by name. I want to choose condition because I want to work on my junky parts, right? Like I've got parts here that I can't reuse anymore, and certainly, and this is to the simulation point, you certainly wouldn't want your mechanic coming along saying, well, I got this old crankshaft here and it's garbage, but I got to get rid of it. I'm going to put it in a customer's car. Hint, that's not the kind of shop you want to take your car to. But here I am. I want to get rid of this. In fact, I look at, let's say I wanted to get rid of all of these junky, low-condition parts because it's not worth my time to fix them, or maybe I can't fix them, like used air filters and used oil filters. Those are like one-use type things, right? You don't get to fix them up and use them for infinity times, right? So here we are, at like, well, okay, how do I just tell this thing I want to sell all of my junky parts? Well, good luck to you. You can't. Here's how you sell your parts. I want to sell this shock absorber. You sure? Yes. I want to sell the suspension arm. You sure? Yes. Okay. Is there any quicker way for me to do this? In the previous version of the game, 2015 version, there was a sell all junk button, and it's fairly useful. It would at least sell all the low condition red parts, make your life a little bit easier. That's not here in the game, and so as a game developer now, you should think about that. You have a certain kind of classical expected control scheme that your fan base expects or is very used to from one game to another game to another game, and now these things are not there. It's not consistent in the next version of your game. Are you okay with that? Is your fan base going to be okay with that? In this case, go check the forums on Steam for Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. You'll see that there's a lot of people that are not okay with some of the things that are missing from 2015 to the 2018 edition. So, there you go. That's a real pertinent issue the game developers have to consider. And there could be reasons that, like, sorry, we couldn't do that anymore. But, again, that's cool comfort. Now, watch this. I'm going to be a pro, and I'm going to start selling my stuff here really quick that I don't need. So look at me. I am basically just going mouse enter, mouse enter, mouse enter, mouse enter, and goodness, I hope I don't sell something that I wanted to try to repair, but I'm going to be here for a while nuking all of these parts that I don't need anymore. Right? So this not only is inventory management in a lot of games challenging to begin with. You'll see games out there that try to do funny things with inventory, like constrain it by how much strength your character has in the game. This will limit how many pieces of junk and scrap you can carry around in a game like Fallout 4, for example. Right? There are games that just constrain the number of spaces of inventory room you have in your pack. reluctant as I might be to mention No Man's Sky. I mean, that's one example I know that a lot of people would be familiar with of a game where, you know what, you start off only being able to carry, 4 or 5 things in your pack until you upgrade your pack, right? And you get more spots in your inventory. But here in this game, I haven't found a limit yet as to the number of junky, crappy parts that I can have in my inventory. But one thing I am sure of, and that I can confirm, is that with the more parts I have, management of this becomes just tedious and a real turnoff for me in terms of gameplay. Knowing that I have hundreds of parts in here, and if I'm gonna scroll through this vast list of broken parts and find the ones I need, I don't know, is it more work than I want? And that's part of the problem with maybe developing simulations, is that the simulator wants it both ways. The player wants it both ways. I would like the thrill of flying my airplane, but I don't really have time to do the ground check. The ground check is an important part of flying an airplane, where the pilot, is required to walk around and investigate all the exterior surfaces, the landing gear, the lights, everything on a plane before it takes off. And you think about how important that would be when you're hundreds or thousands of feet in the air, going, oh, did I check this, right? This really important part of my aircraft before I took off. I'd be ashamed if I forgot that on the ground. But same kind of thing here. There's some parts of the simulation aspect that I didn't buy this game for. I didn't buy this game to manage inventory, for example, right? And so, I have to juggle that with the other fun aspects of the game. Now, when the other fun aspects of the game outweigh the sort of the tedious, inventory management things, then it becomes a non-issue. But here in this game, for my money, this is tedious. So now, here's something that I want you to consider from a UI and a software design perspective. So between the repair bench that I showed you a few minutes ago and this inventory screen here, note that here on this inventory screen, I can sort parts by the area on the car, on the vehicle that they go, the exhaust, body, suspension, right? So I can sort all the stuff in my inventory here. How hard would it be for us to have this in the repair table interface? I mean, really, if we're designing UI, modules, UI classes and software, if we think about our principles or our software engineering principles, don't we want to, I don't know, maybe take advantage of, sort of class inheritance, this kind of thing, and saying, yeah, maybe that repair table needs to have some different UI elements in it, but maybe it still needs the ability to sort. Why are we just maybe not inheriting or creating a child class for that repair inventory UI based on this one, right? I mean, really, what does this need here that's so different? Why don't I just put a repair button here? All I can do is sell. And this is what sort of frustrates me about this game, right? I mean, it seems like there's some obvious approaches that could be taken to make the player's life a lot easier. Reduce those frustrations that make a player want to stop playing a game by taking advantage of good UI elements you already have. Okay, maybe it would make the game more consistent, enjoyable, and fun to play as well. So, in terms of homework, and I'm putting air quotes around that, in terms of homework or a bit of a thought exercise for you, think about redesigning a new unified parts interface for this game. So for instance, I'll leave this here. Maybe you want to come back and grab a screenshot of this, but think about, the best of both worlds. Could you just rough out in, paint.net, Photoshop, something like that, just rough out a unified interface for managing your inventory that will include better sorting here, that will include repair, that will include some tools to make selling or viewing, sorting, even all of your parts a lot easier. Okay, think about that, and we'll come back to it. Now, one last thing I wanted to mention here, and to help you with that, here, let me go back over to the repair bay, or the repair bench. here's the other inventory screen that, so some kind of a hybrid between this screen and the other inventory screen would be awesome. Now, one of the things I wanted to come back to that I mentioned a few moments ago was this idea that sometimes a lack of optimization in the UI, the interactivity between the player and the objects in the game is part of what makes the game, fun, or adds to the quality of the simulation that's in the game. Okay, so I'm going to just leave that screen here. And like, here's a quick example. So if I go into the car repair interface here, and I'm just rotating around here with my camera, I want to repair a part, replace a part. Okay, and let me just pick something here. Yeah, better have some parts to do this with. Sure, I'll just put this together real quick. So here I am. So here's an example, right? So you know that mechanics are always fastening nuts and bolts together, screws, all kinds of fasteners to put all these parts together in a car, right? And so I come along here with my mouse and I click and hold on top of these. Can you imagine if and I'm just clicking and holding until these parts are removed or are put on the car. So here's me removing the part now. I just click and hold, and the bolt comes out, and the bolt comes off. Part goes away. Can you imagine what it would be like if I had to come in here and, I don't know, twist and turn and twist and turn my mouse as though I was actually twisting and turning a wrench, okay, or another tool. And I know there's a lot of people going, why don't you have an air tool? Or something. No. I get that. But as the game designers and developers are thinking about how to put their game together, that's one of the things that they're absolutely trying to consider. How much simulation is good enough, right? Versus, do we want the players of our game to develop additional carpal tunnel syndrome, right, as they are trying to play this game? And you think about it, in a lot of other games, mashing the keyboard, the mouse, the console controller in different ways, it all makes sense. There's a way to do that. There's a reason you're doing that in the game. Maybe it's a fighting game and you got to go left, up, down, right, and A B. You have to mash this in order to have a profound effect or any effect in the game world. So again, everything's a balance here, and it's important to note that as you're putting parts onto your car and you're screwing them in at the beginning of the game, you're actually, it's a lot slower than you're seeing here. Again, let me switch back here. I've been upgrading my I gotta take this off first. I've been upgrading my mechanic character in the game here, and so the character is quite quick. This would be a lot slower to remove those bolts, and so that's interesting that they turned that into a part of the game here. Let me look at the toolbox. I'll show you what I meant about this being a role-playing game. As you go up in levels in this game, you're able to buy extra skills. Oh, it looks like I went up a level. That's pretty cool. I have oh no, I haven't. I don't have any available points here, but you can buy a skill that lets you go faster, move faster through your shop, get more money when you're doing jobs for customers, get extra equipment to help you diagnose problems more accurately. And this one here, 150% faster screwing and unscrewing of parts on the car, right? So there's lots of different ways to kind of have fun with antagonizing your players and rewarding them, right? And so I find that okay, cool. A lot of games are giving people these RPG elements as a way of rewarding, prolonging the gameplay. Because I got to tell you, you fix one car. You fix a muffler on a car at once. You going to do that 400 or 500 times? What if you fixed a muffler on a car and then you went up a level. Now you're faster at it. Now you make more money. Now there's a reason to come back and do it again. So I think that was one of the great things about this whole franchise, this idea that your capabilities, the things that you can do, the equipment you have access to. Like when my garage started at the beginning of the game, I had this little dimly lit shack with one hoist, and I could only take one car at a time, and I didn't have all the tools that I do now. So definitely my business is doing well, in game, and I keep playing despite the problems that the game has. I really do like this game. It's quite a bit of fun. I don't have to blow anyone up. It's kind of like, for me, it's like Candy Crush, from the point of view that it's a game I can come and just, let the brain go a little bit, but still be challenged to diagnose and fix problems. I like that kind of game a lot. So, anyway, just review. Big challenges here. Get control of your UI. I mean, I really do wonder how many players feedback did they solicit and get for this? I mean, if they had 100 people playtest the game deep enough and long enough to get to the point where they're trying to repair parts constantly, was that even a part of their user testing test plan? Because I have to think, if you had 100 players try this out, at least one is going to tell you this is the worst way of trying to repair parts and get to them. So they either have some mechanic for sorting this stuff out that isn't readily apparent or available in game. Maybe there's some secret, hidden keyboard command that will sort this stuff out automatically for me. I don't know. I haven't found it yet. But regardless, wouldn't you want it to be more obvious if there was that flexibility? And again, why not just create a really useful interface based on other really useful UI interfaces you've already built for this game? Okay, so again, my challenge to you there would be, hey, can you find a new unified inventory screen that will combine, good sorting, selling, repair, inventory management features? Maybe it doesn't have to be for this car mechanic game. Maybe it could be for a traditional RPG. Can you find some examples of good inventory management from an awesome game like Fallout 4, for example, or Pillars of Eternity, an old kind of a classic RPG game. Whatever. There's lots of different examples out there for this. So thanks for joining me for this video here, showing you some of the things I loves and hates about Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. Give you something to think about and some ways to look into the world of game development. Thank you.